In the midst of the chaos of the battlefield, screams echoed across the city. Shouts from the members of the demonic cult proclaiming that the Murim Alliance had arrived at the Demon Pavilion residence. They yelled to stop the Murim Alliance, urging that they must not be allowed to enter the pavilion grounds. A man was seen running hurriedly toward a destination. He rushed with urgency because tens of thousands of orthodox and unorthodox forces from the Murim Alliance were swarming this place like an army of ants. As he continued to run, an old man called out to him, addressing him as inner administrator, surprised to see him here instead of fleeing. The young man turned toward the elder, who was none other than Captain Sandojon. Sandojon spoke, questioning why he was running without any guards by his side, warning that the situation was dangerous. He offered to escort him to safety, but the young man refused. He insisted on seeing the cult leader first. He explained that the cult leader had ordered all followers to evacuate the main mountain, yet he himself hadn't moved from his seat. Sandojon acknowledged the dire circumstances, patting the young man's shoulder and urging him to flee to safety, saying the defensive lines would collapse within the hour. The young man understood Sandojon's intentions, but he stood firm. He would meet the cult leader and retreat with him, even if it was already too late. With nothing more to say, Sandojon departed. The young man sighed heavily, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. This life is truly a failure, he murmured to himself. Still, he pressed on, running toward the pavilion. Upon reaching the large doors of the pavilion, he shouted his name aloud, introducing himself as Yeomyung and asking if the cult leader was inside, but no answer came. He shouted again, repeating the same request. Only silence responded, nothing but a deep, eerie quiet behind the doors of the Heavenly Demon Pavilion. Then, on his third attempt, a woman's voice echoed from within, telling Yeomyung to enter. Shocked by the unexpected response, he hesitated before nervously pushing against the massive doors, still concerned about his earlier lack of formality. He pushed with all his strength, but the doors wouldn't budge. He tried harder, and finally, after mustering every ounce of strength, the doors slowly opened. Annoyed, Yeomyung grumbled in his heart. Why was there no door guard? This door was far too heavy for an ordinary person. He struggled just to get it open. Once inside, he hurried into the grand room. There, seated, was a stunning woman, the cult leader herself. She casually remarked that his martial skills were worse than a third-rate martial artist. Exhausted, Yeomyung sighed in relief that the elders weren't present. He had spoken too bluntly to the cult leader. Cheon Yura, the cult leader, replied that he would have been in serious trouble if they had heard him. Yeomyung scowled, annoyed that she'd heard everything he shouted earlier. He stepped forward and knelt respectfully before her. Her striking face calm, Cheon Yura asked why someone as weak as the lowest-ranked inner administrator would bother seeking her out. Yeomyung asked her why she was still here. Yura replied with a list of poisons: heaven-destroying poison, massacre blood poison, formless poison, bone-melting poison, and more. Yeomyung clenched his fists in rage. He muttered that this must be the doing of that bastard Hanmubaek, the head of the demonic faction and Yura's chosen consort. It was Hanmubaek who opened the gates to the 10,000 Mountain, allowing the Murim Alliance to easily invade. He was the ringleader of the traitors. Yura explained that before leaving, Hanmubaek had told her he had a hard time getting close to her, and that winning the cult leader's heart was even harder than gaining the world. He poisoned her so she could feel the pain he had endured. Yeomyung bit his tongue to stop himself from cursing aloud. Yura found his reaction amusing. She thought he was an interesting man. Yeomyung, flustered, told her this wasn't the time for such talk. He noticed she seemed different. She was usually confident, stern, and serious. But now, she was laughing. Yeomyung asked, "Is it already too late?" Yura replied that one of the poisons, heaven-destroying poison, had already taken over her dantian. She could fight the other poisons, but not this one. Yeomyung bowed his head. "But what if I do something? What if? What if?" He stammered without finishing his sentence, frustrating Yura. "If you say 'what if' one more time," she warned, "I'll rip your tongue out. Speak clearly." Terrified, Yeomyung finally asked, "If you could reincarnate and have another chance, what would you do?" Yura paused, stunned by the question. Yeomyung reminded her that they once talked about this, how he claimed to have saved the world in a previous life. Yura said she still didn't believe that claim, even if he insisted it was true. He urged her to just pretend it was true for a moment. Yura asked why he was trying to give her hope. If such a chance existed, shouldn't he be busy chasing it himself? Yeomyung clenched his fist over his heart and said, "Because I can't stand betrayal. And this is the only way I know to repay the one who saved me." Yura was puzzled. "Saved you?" "Don't think about it," Yeomyung said quickly. He recalled how they first met through a political engagement, and figured that must be what she was thinking about now. Cheon Yura leaned back gracefully, contemplating the idea of reincarnation. She asked, "If I could reincarnate, what would you do, Yeomyung?" The question struck him silent. He reflected deeply. No matter what, even if he forgot everything that happened in this life, he would destroy everyone involved, whether Murim Alliance or any third party. He would sacrifice everything. even his soul. While he was still lost in thought, Yura asked with a smirk, "Are you trying to seduce me?" Yeomyung's eyes widened in disbelief. He said confidently that he could stop Hanmubaek from becoming the next faction leader, but being her partner? That was almost impossible. Romantic relationships required mutual feelings, and Cheon Yura, known for being ruthless in her youth, crushed anyone who approached her. Hanmubaek only succeeded because he was the only one who could tolerate her temper. With a shy smile, Yura replied, "If you don't like it, then don't." Yeomyung responded, "For me, nothing is impossible." He began climbing the stairs toward her. Romance often begins with one person falling for someone who hasn't yet noticed them. And for Cheon Yura, for you, I don't think that's so hard. Even though Yura knew that Jin Yeomyung was already in his 30s, she still blushed when she heard him say this. Jin Yeomyung, noticing the cult leader's shy expression, was impressed by her beauty. He then asked Yura to promise him one thing. Jin Yeomyung said that if he ever spoke harshly about the person Yura used to be, she should forgive him. He also said he would learn her weaknesses and would come to understand everything about her. Yura replied to Jin Yeomyung's words with a warning. If he ever leaked this conversation, there would be consequences. With an angry expression that frightened Jin Yeomyung, Yura swore that she would kill him with all her strength. She wouldn't give any further warnings, so Jin Yeomyung needed to take this seriously and keep it to himself. Naturally, Jin Yeomyung complied. He then said to Yura that he was very different from who he used to be, which made Yura immediately respond by telling him to shut up. Realizing someone was approaching, Yura then said to Jin Yeomyung that their conversation should end here. Suddenly, the pavilion's doors and glass were slammed open and shattered by someone. A crowd of people, so numerous they couldn't even be counted, poured into the pavilion. Yura remarked that the intruders had made it this far. She then said to Jin Yeomyung that if he wanted, she could let him die peacefully first, to which Jin Yeomyung reluctantly replied that of course, he did not want that. Jin Yeomyung said that if he had the strength, he wanted to see how everything would end. Then a voice was heard. Someone spoke. It was the leader of both the Orthodox and Unorthodox Murim Alliance. He was known as the Sword Supreme, and his name was Sage Gwan-hyun. Gwan-hyun addressed Yura, saying he never expected he would witness the destruction of the demonic cult in his generation, and that it was an honor. Jin Yeomyung responded to this, saying that Gwan-hyun had no idea who was on his side. With an irritating smirk, Gwan-hyun said, of course he knew what Jin Yeomyung meant. He then pointed and revealed the one he meant was the demonic faction itself, Hanmubaek. He announced that Hanmubaek was the heavenly divine dragon, praised by many, and that he was willing to swallow his pride for the sake of Janghu. Jin Yeomyung was shocked to hear this. He never expected that Hanmubaek would hold the title of heavenly divine dragon and walk so confidently alongside the Orthodox faction. Hanmubaek then spoke while pointing at Cheon Yura, saying that she was the one who had to pay for her sins because, as the demonic empress, she had no conscience. Yura only smiled and replied sarcastically, saying her beloved husband had returned. Hanmubaek gave a wicked smile and said this was all for the good of Janghu. But Yura interrupted and replied to Hanmubaek, continuing that what he had done was actually for the good of the heaven-defying society. This statement confused all the members of the Murim Alliance. Jin Yeomyung, hearing this, was just as confused as it was his first time hearing the name Heaven-Defying Society. Hanmubaek, now panicked by Yura's words, began shouting to convince everyone from the Murim Alliance that Yura was lying and trying to divide them, telling everyone not to believe her words. Gwan-hyun then responded to Hanmubaek, saying that even if what she said was true, he didn't care about anything that the cult leader had to say. Hanmubaek then told everyone to attack Yura, saying her life was already hanging by a thread and to strike together. Yura firmly declared that although she had been poisoned, in her current condition, it was more than enough to defeat the members of the Murim Alliance. Gwan-hyun sneered, thinking Cheon Yura was only bluffing. Cheon Yura responded by releasing her aura and activating the heaven-slaying demon sword art. Seeing and feeling this, all the cult members couldn't believe that their leader still had such immense power. Gwan-hyun then shouted to his Golden Dragon Heavenly Sword troops to attack immediately, and thus, the battle between the two sides began. The scene shifted, and Jin Yeomyung was shown waking up and opening his eyes, hearing Yura's voice saying that he was still alive. Jin Yeomyung was shocked to see the cult leader's condition. Covered in blood with many swords pierced into her body, Yura said she was grateful she could hold on and say goodbye before she died. Yura explained that all the intruders had fled after she activated the self-destruction array of the Heavenly Demon Hall. Jin Yeomyung could only watch with a devastated expression, as the cult leader he respected so much said these final words. Yura looked at Jin Yeomyung and asked why he was crying. Jin Yeomyung replied that he was deeply sad and broken to see her in such a state. Cheon Yura then held Jin Yeomyung's face and asked if he was trying to seduce her. With a heavy heart, Jin Yeomyung said of course he would. Cheon Yura, with a sorrowful gaze, said she felt grateful and happy to hear that, and she spoke those words while giving a gentle smile. Then Jin Yeomyung saw her body collapse and fall limp. He cried and embraced the cold body of the leader of the demonic sect. This was the final moment, the last in this life. Jin Yeomyung's first life wasn't bad. He was once a hero who saved the world and humanity and became the guardian of Earth. Because of this, the gods granted him blessings and advantages, 2 additional reincarnations. At first, Jin Yeomyung intended to live leisurely and enjoy his life, but the moment he saw the leader of the demonic cult, Cheon Yura, his thoughts changed. He then vowed that in this final life he would dedicate himself to Cheon Yura. Jin Yeomyung then woke up and heard something. He saw a bald man calling him Young Master. The man smiled upon seeing Jin Yeomyung awake and said he was Jin Yeomyung's loyal servant named Gu Chil while holding a bucket of water. Jin Yeomyung woke up fully and recognized the man's familiar face, realizing that he had regressed far into the past. He then asked Gu Chil why he had splashed him with water. Gu Chil was of course confused about how to explain, and then another voice was heard saying that he had ordered it. Jin Yeomyung realized who it was and turned toward the voice. He immediately knew the moment he had regressed to. When he was 17 years old, he came to the Demon Heaven Tower to become the son of the young demon chief. He then saw the person who was his father and the head of the family. His father angrily said that during Jin Yeomyung's deification ceremony, he had sneaked up to the upper floor and partied with alcohol. He continued saying that the eldest son of the clan was so weak, he got drunk from just 1 bottle of alcohol. With sharp eyes, Jin Gunak, the patriarch of the Jin clan, also known as the Asura King, told Jin Yeomyung he was pathetic and that he had done such disgraceful things while being with a potential allied family. Jin Yeomyung immediately stepped forward toward his father, and in a completely unexpected move, even to Gunak himself, he kneeled. Gunak said that if Jin Yeomyung was weak, then he should at least be smart. He then asked if he had to come and drag him back himself. Jin Yeomyung realized his mistake and bowed down, saying that the issue his father was angry about must be related to his engagement to the cult leader's heir. At this time, the agenda was the engagement meeting with Cheon Yura, who was now 17 years old. He would attend the meeting and face the heirs of the 6 great clans. The meeting was actually a contest to determine who would become the partner of the cult's next leader. At the previous ceremony, no one had truly been chosen. It was only when the lord of the demonic faction chose a winner during the tournament, and that winner was the traitor Han Mubek. Jin Yeomyung assured himself and swore that this would not happen again. Gunak then told Jin Yeomyung that the reason he had chosen a man with no talent and no ambition, and allowed him to live until now, was precisely for this moment. Jin Yeomyung knew that his father was a ruthless man who used his son for the sake of the clan's glory. Gunak then sternly asked if Jin Yeomyung could defeat the other heirs. Jin Yeomyung responded with determined eyes, saying that he would definitely win the heart of the cult leader and defeat the 6 heirs from the 6 great clans. Gunak smiled at his son's answer. He told Jin Yeomyung that if he didn't want to tarnish the family name, he had to train and refine his martial arts to protect himself. After that, Gunak left, and Jin Yeomyung felt calm. He hadn't expected to meet his father so soon after waking up. He sat in reflection, thinking that this reincarnation might be the best timing he had ever been given. Jin Yeomyung then recalled Yura's words about the heaven-defying society. He swore that he would destroy it, down to its very roots. Then his servant Gu Chil panicked and asked what exactly his young master was planning to do. Jin Yeomyung replied in confusion. Gu Chil then mentioned Jin Yeomyung's earlier statement about wanting to be the partner of the cult leader. Jin Yeomyung paused and thought, then asked Gu Chil when exactly he had said that. Gu Chil was confused upon hearing Jin Yeomyung's words, and then explained that he never said he would become the husband of the young cult leader. He only said he would make other men get rejected by her. Gu Chil was still confused, thinking both things were the same, but Jin Yeomyung said that those were 2 very different things. Jin Yeomyung always believed that Cheon Yura in this era would never have her heart moved no matter what he did. He then continued saying that Cheon Yura was always obsessed with her martial arts, and would never look at someone weaker than her. Then, someone was seen approaching Jin Yeomyung and Gu Chil. He then spoke toward them, saying that Jin Yeomyung was still here and that it was a coincidence to run into him. Jin Yeomyung looked at the man and remembered his identity. He turned out to be Ma Chul-su, the 2nd son of the Blood Dragon demonic clan. Ma Chul-su was offended by Jin Yeomyung's gaze and asked why he was looking at him like he had seen a ghost or something. With sparkling eyes, Jin Yeomyung said he didn't mean it that way, and then asked about Young-hee, wondering why Ma Chul-su had come alone. Ma Chul-su angrily replied that he had no younger brother with such a name. Ma Chul-su then immediately challenged Jin Yeomyung to a duel, which shocked Jin Yeomyung, as this never happened in his previous life. He began to think that this might be due to his father acting differently, since in this life, he wasn't beaten and dragged home, causing unexpected things to happen, like this. There are 6 clans that share power with the heavenly demonic cult, known as the Cheon clan, and the 6 demonic clans consist of the Jin, Hwan, So, Sa, Pei, and Ma clans. The relationships between the 6 clans aren't particularly close, and his Jin clan and the Ma clan have the worst relationship of them all. Jin Yeomyung then told Ma Chul-su that personal conflicts between clans are prohibited, but Ma Chul-su replied that there are exceptions, which confused Jin Yeomyung. Jin Yeomyung thought this duel was related to the Cheon clan and had nothing to do with the survival of the clans. Jin Yeomyung then asked if this had something to do with the young cult leader, and Ma Chulsu confirmed that's what he meant. Ma Chulsu then raised his sword toward Jin Yeomyung and said that if Jin Yeomyung from the Jin clan lost the duel, he had to withdraw from the 6 clan meeting with the young cult leader. Jin Yeomyung smiled, thinking the Ma clan would be represented by Ma Chulsu's younger brother, not Chulsu himself. Jin Yeomyung then asked why he should agree to such terms. He mocked Ma Chulsu, asking if his younger brother was so weak that Ma Chulsu had to fight on his behalf, which enraged Ma Chulsu. Jin Yeomyung told him not to go overboard or the clan conflict would grow even worse. Overwhelmed with emotion, Ma Chulsu then attacked Jin Yeomyung. Guchil, seeing this, seemed ready to draw his sword to block the attack, but Jin Yeomyung told Guchil not to interfere, feeling that this was the perfect time to use his first perk. Jin Yeomyung smiled as Ma Chulsu tried to get close and attack him, but to Jin Yeomyung this was a chance to awaken the senses he had trained in his previous life. Guchil shouted in panic. Knowing Jin Yeomyung was weak and unsure what he would do, Jin Yeomyung ignored Guchil. He felt that even though he couldn't match Ma Chulsu's father's swordsmanship, he would have no issue with the techniques of this teenage Ma Chulsu. Jin Yeomyung, with a cold gaze, looked at Ma Chulsu's attack. He could see all the attack patterns, then stopped the strike and caught Ma Chulsu's sword with 2 fingers. Guchil was shocked and said that the posture was flawless reversal. Jin Yeomyung then counterattacked and landed a clean hit on Ma Chulsu, causing Ma Chulsu to immediately lose consciousness. Guchil could only remain silent in disbelief, covering his mouth, because this Jin Yeomyung was completely different from the weak man with no martial arts experience from before. Jin Yeomyung then told Ma Chulsu's guards to take him away, and added that Ma Chulsu would surely go berserk once he woke up, so they should restrain him, or else he might tell everyone that he lost so badly. Before the guards left with Ma Chulsu, Jin Yeomyung told them one more thing, that he had only held back and never intended to destroy him. He thought that if word got out that the Jin clan defeated the heir of the Ma clan so easily, it would be a disaster, and he didn't want that to happen. Jin Yeomyung was then seen arriving at a place and greeted by many people. An old man quickly came to welcome and guide Jin Yeomyung and Guchil, asking if he had enjoyed his journey with his companion. Jin Yeomyung simply said it was hard to explain, thinking that his father had come all the way to the sparring hall just to drag him back, as the head administrator of the clan who surely knew everything. Jin Yeomyung then told the old man, whose name was Byok, that he was overpraising him. Byok replied that he was just concerned about his well-being. Jin Yeomyung then said to skip the formalities and grant him immediate access to the training room. Byok was confused and asked if Jin Yeomyung really intended to start martial arts training right away. Everyone was shocked to hear this conversation. Jin Yeomyung continued and asked to bring more specific martial arts scrolls. He did this because he remembered when his master gave him many training manuals and told him to master them all to become an unbeatable figure. But Jin Yeomyung knew that all the books were incomplete copies and told his master so, which made his master furious at Jin Yeomyung's attitude. At that time, his master spoke of a martial arts manual that was never known because there was no opportunity to do so, and so it ended up in the Jin clan. But all the manuals only contained guides for brute strength. Jin Yeomyung remembered the fire that would burn down the main residence 4 years from now, which is why the books were still intact. He then saw 2 books, Heaven Soaring Divine Art and Ten Fang Divine Sword Art. These books described techniques of the Jin clan focusing on palm strikes and leg kicks, which were not his style. However, to Jin Yeomyung he had to do this, to build a solid foundation of inner energy and perception. Jin Yeomyung felt that he might never meet his master in this life, but he would become the grandmaster his master had always hoped for. Still, Jin Yeomyung felt sad because he thought he would never have a chance to win over Cheon Yura, since with his current level, she would surely reject him. Jin Yeomyung would train and isolate himself for 5 years to focus solely on martial arts training. Once he had increased his power, he would hunt and kill the members of the Heaven-defying society. Jin Yeomyung would ensure that the young cult leader, once she became the official leader, would be safe and that no threats would reach her. Jin Yeomyung then briefly recalled the memory of that event and felt sadness and trauma from it. 2 weeks passed. Jin Yeomyung and Guchil were seen walking somewhere. Guchil felt that his young master Jin Yeomyung was walking too slowly. Jin Yeomyung said to take it easy because he was at the end of the line, but Guchil thought that Jin Yeomyung was underestimating the Cheon clan's event, though Jin Yeomyung told Guchil to relax, as he would take responsibility for his own actions. Jin Yeomyung then recalled how in his previous life, he failed at this meeting and was confined by his father for an entire year, but this time he would overcome it by training for 5 years. While he was thinking about past events, someone was suddenly seen flying through the air. That person flew out of a doorway and crashed into a wall. Jin Yeomyung and Guchil could only watch. Jin Yeomyung smiled, thinking the welcome was a bit aggressive. Guchil said the man seemed to have been kicked by someone. Jin Yeomyung then observed the man dressed in red. wearing the uniform typically worn by the Blood Dragon Sword. He thought the man was Ma Jin-yoon from the Blood Dragon Ma clan. It had been a long time since he had seen him. Then, from within the doorway, a woman's voice was heard saying to Ma Jin-yoon that he might actually be useful, which left Jin Yeomyung stunned. The woman asked Ma Jin-yoon if he could still endure, and Ma Jin-yoon replied that he still could. Jin Yeomyung then turned toward the source of the voice and saw the figure. It was Cheon Yura, the cult leader of the demonic cult in his previous life. Jin Yeomyung then stared at Cheon Yura, who was inside the gate. Jin Yeomyung confidently felt that he had arrived on time and was not late, but Guchil responded and felt that his young master was joking. Jin Yeomyung told Guchil to enjoy the show, and then entered the gate together with him. In Jin Yeomyung's memory, Ma Jin-yoon was a coward and weak, who fainted after receiving a single attack from Cheon Yura. But seeing Ma Jin-yoon now, Jin Yeomyung felt something was strange. Ma Jin-yoon could be seen trying to attack Cheon Yura with all his might, but Cheon Yura easily blocked and parried all of his attacks. Cheon Yura praised Ma Jin-yoon and said that he was stronger than she had expected. Seeing the sparring fight between Cheon Yura and Ma Jin-yoon, Jin Yeomyung felt that Ma Jin-yoon was stronger than he had known, and Ma Jin-yoon was seen getting kicked again by Cheon Yura right in the stomach, which made Ma Jin-yoon get thrown and fall to the ground. Some of Ma Jin-yoon's attendants who saw this called out to him and approached, but Ma Jin-yoon instead pointed at Jin Yeomyung. Jin Yeomyung was puzzled as to why Ma Jin-yoon pointed at him. Ma Jin-yoon then said loudly that he would never lose to Jin Yeomyung. After that, Ma Jin-yoon respectfully greeted Cheon Yura and thanked her for being willing to spar with him in sword fighting, and Cheon Yura replied by saying that she hoped Ma Jin-yoon would be stronger when they met again next time. Seeing this made Jin Yeomyung confused because Cheon Yura was supposed to reject Ma Jin-yoon and not speak to him. Cheon Yura then told Ma Jin-yoon to go treat his injuries in the medical room. Hearing Cheon Yura seemingly care about him made Ma Jin-yoon happy and thankful for her kindness and concern. Jin Yeomyung felt puzzled when Ma Jin-yoon seemed to hate him, even though he felt this was their first meeting. Then Cheon Yura called out Ma Jin-yoon's name. Cheon Yura said that she had been waiting for Jin Yeomyung's arrival. Jin Yeomyung felt nervous and wondered why Cheon Yura was waiting for him. Cheon Yura looked at the trembling Jin Yeomyung and said that the child of the Ma clan was quite strong, and if Jin Yeomyung defeated his older brother, then he must be stronger than him, which made Jin Yeomyung feel like he was in trouble because of that. Cheon Yura then told Jin Yeomyung that if he failed to meet her expectations, then she would be very disappointed in him. The scene then moved to the training field area. The demonic cult is a cult that always resolves everything with strength, and Jin Yeomyung could be seen annoyed by that, and felt his interaction with Cheon Yura was very aggressive. She attacked his head right from the start of the fight, and that was what upset him. Jin Yeomyung felt that this duel should be a training session, not a killing match. He then asked Cheon Yura why she started with a deadly move, because he felt that when Cheon Yura fought with Ma Jin-yoon, she wasn't this rough and acted calmly toward him. Jin Yeomyung kept dodging Cheon Yura's attacks while calling her a psycho lady. Cheon Yura fell silent and stopped her attack upon hearing Jin Yeomyung's words. She then stared at Jin Yeomyung with a cold gaze and repeated the phrase Jin Yeomyung said, "Psycho lady." Jin Yeomyung, seeing that Cheon Yura was angry, tried to correct himself and said he didn't mean it that way. But Cheon Yura, already furious, immediately attacked Jin Yeomyung even harder than before, overwhelming him. Both swords clashed with each other. Jin Yeomyung took the initiative to end this in a few moves, but Cheon Yura became even angrier at Jin Yeomyung and released a terrifying aura. She then said while attacking that Jin Yeomyung had been hiding his true strength. Jin Yeomyung was confused about how Cheon Yura could know, and he looked at her and was shocked to see that Cheon Yura was releasing sword aura. Jin Yeomyung felt both sad and panicked because Cheon Yura only blocked Ma Jin-yoon's attacks and didn't attack him, but she was now attacking him and even using sword aura. Cheon Yura then struck Jin Yeomyung hard, causing him to be flung far away. Jin Yeomyung, after receiving the attack, now appeared exhausted. Cheon Yura then said to Jin Yeomyung how dare he fake a defeat and hide his true power. Cheon Yura, with an angry expression, glared at Jin Yeomyung and asked whether he would now dare to show all his abilities. Jin Yeomyung responded and said that from the beginning he had never fought insincerely. Cheon Yura grew even more annoyed with Jin Yeomyung's answer and felt that he had been pretending the whole time. From the start, Jin Yeomyung was never insincere, it's just that his sincerity was not meant to win this duel. Cheon Yura then pointed her sword at Jin Yeomyung and said that from the beginning, Jin Yeomyung's goal had been to deceive her. Cheon Yura then firmly declared that if that was Jin Yeomyung's intention, then she would kill him as he wished. Guchil, seeing this, panicked while calling out to Jin Yeomyung because if he didn't block Cheon Yura's attack, he would be killed. Then footsteps were seen, and Cheon Yura, who was activating her heaven-slaying demon sword art 6 Phantom Strikes, immediately charged toward Jin Yeomyung. Jin Yeomyung then blocked Cheon Yura's attack with the 10-Fang Divine Sword Art, First Fang, Heavenly. Even though he used his best technique, Jin Yeomyung still got hit in the face. The battle continued between Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura. Each of them unleashed their best moves and techniques. Jin Yeomyung's hand could be seen trembling after blocking each of Cheon Yura's strikes. Cheon Yura smiled and responded to Jin Yeomyung's words and asked what exactly he had blocked. Jin Yeomyung looked at Cheon Yura and was shocked by what she did. Cheon Yura appeared to activate and use enhanced aura, even though she was currently only 18 years old. Although he knew that Yura had surpassed the peak realm at this age, Jin Yeomyung still considered it insane. Seeing Cheon Yura's attack approaching him, Jin Yeomyung didn't try to block or dodge it. Jin Yeomyung just closed his eyes as if accepting his death. But even though he had been waiting, the attack still didn't hit him. Jin Yeomyung was confused because he was still alive. Then a voice was heard telling Cheon Yura that she had truly lost control and was going to destroy the cult with that attack. Jin Yeomyung was shocked to hear that. Then he quickly knelt toward the person who spoke. And that person was the Heavenly Demon, and Jin Yeomyung immediately gave a respectful greeting toward the true leader of the divine cult while bowing to him. The Heavenly Demon then told Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura that they had almost started a civil war within the divine cult at that very moment because of the duel they fought. Cheon Taejong, also known as the current Heavenly Demon, was someone who had received the title of Supreme, and he was the third person to receive this title in the cult's 1,000-year history. In addition, he was also the 28th leader of the Heavenly Demon cult and the current Grandmaster of the demonic faction. Cheon Taejong then said to Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura that if a civil war were to happen, then each clan's supporters would also get involved, and the cult's forces would be disrupted because of this, which would be a great advantage for the Orthodox Alliance to exploit this opportunity to attack. Jin Yeomyung acknowledged this, although he felt it was a bit of an exaggeration, but he doubted his father would go to war just because he was killed by Cheon Yura. Cheon Taejong then ordered Cheon Yura to apologize to Jin Yeomyung, and she clenched her fist while trembling upon hearing this. Cheon Yura was upset by this, but because the Heavenly Demon had commanded it, Cheon Yura finally apologized to Jin Yeomyung, albeit reluctantly, and with clear unwillingness, to which Jin Yeomyung replied that she shouldn't think too much about it. However, Jin Yeomyung was amazed and puzzled because he never imagined he would witness the moment when the notorious demonic empress would apologize to him. After all, in the demonic cult, the law of the jungle prevailed. Clan Cheon was always at the top, followed by the 6 great clans, and at the bottom were the regular followers. Cheon Taejong then stated that the Jin clan had now raised a competent and worthy successor, and then he asked Jin Yeomyung if he was not the clan's heir. He said this because in the laws of the demonic cult, a clan heir or patriarch cannot run as a candidate for the cult's young leader or the next cult leader. Jin Yeomyung told Cheon Taejong that he was not qualified enough to be the heir, and because of that, his younger brother had been chosen as the successor instead of him. Cheon Taejong was surprised by Jin Yeomyung's statement that he was unqualified, because what he saw in the duel was that Jin Yeomyung was capable of using sword aura at his current age. Cheon Taejong smiled, sensing that something didn't add up, and he suspected there was more behind this, but he didn't pursue the matter further and said no more. Jin Yeomyung nervously responded that he was only fulfilling his duty as a member of the Jin clan. Cheon Taejong replied that Jin Yeomyung should continue doing what he said until the end, and Jin Yeomyung said he would do so, though he was confused by Cheon Taejong's words. Cheon Taejong then turned and said that he would inform the Jin clan about the schedule for the next meeting. He hoped that Jin Yeomyung would later become close with his beloved Cheon Yura. Hearing no response from Jin Yeomyung, Cheon Taejong, with terrifying eyes, asked why Jin Yeomyung didn't answer. Jin Yeomyung felt like he was in trouble because of this, and he quickly responded that he understood what the cult leader said and would comply. Cheon Taejong then walked away while saying it had been a long time since he drank with the bastards of the Jin clan, and Jin Yeomyung thought that was exactly like the Heavenly Demon, who could ruin and discard his plans completely. After the cult leader Cheon Taejong left, Cheon Yura said to Jin Yeomyung that she had no intention of apologizing personally to a liar. Cheon Yura also knew that the reason Jin Yeomyung deceived her was because he hated her, but since it was the cult leader's order, she had to do it even though she disliked it. Jin Yeomyung felt there was a misunderstanding between him and Cheon Yura. Jin Yeomyung then said that he didn't hate Cheon Yura, which surprised her. Jin Yeomyung then said that in fact he actually liked Cheon Yura. Jin Yeomyung clarified that by liked, he didn't mean romantically but more as admiration. Then he added that his actions today had nothing to do with Cheon Yura. Cheon Yura interrupted, saying that Jin Yeomyung didn't need to call her the young cult leader, because during the exchange earlier, they were equals. Jin Yeomyung was confused about how he should address Cheon Yura now. Cheon Yura was also equally confused and couldn't explain it. Jin Yeomyung then said with a warm smile that he would now call her Lady Cheon Yura. After that, Jin Yeomyung left the cult along with Guchil, and Guchil praised Jin Yeomyung, saying that he was truly incredible. Guchil felt that the Jin clan's patriarch would be pleased about this. Guchil also mocked the person from the Maya clan who barely survived after being beaten by Cheon Yura, but Jin Yeomyung was different. He had fought on equal footing and even received direct recognition from the Heavenly Demon. Jin Yeomyung felt uneasy with Guchil's behavior, thinking that his secluded training would fall apart. Then, someone was seen calling out brother to Jin Yeomyung, saying that he had already returned. Jin Yeomyung was confused as to why his younger brother personally came to greet him. His brother then said that he had heard Jin Yeomyung was training in the training room before going to the Lesser Demon Hall. Jin Yeomyung's younger brother, named Jin Yeokwon, then asked whether Jin Yeomyung intended to aim for the heir position. Jin Yeomyung replied to Jin Yeokwon saying that he wasn't since he knew the rules. Jin Yeokwon then said sarcastically that Jin Yeomyung's relationship with the young cult leader could be handled any time and that it wasn't a problem. Jin Yeomyung felt that his brother was like a sharp bear and understood everything. Jin Yeokwon then said that he did not acknowledge Jin Yeomyung as his brother. Jin Yeokwon continued, saying that Jin Yeomyung wasn't part of the Jin clan. Gu Chil, hearing this, felt that Jin Yeomyung's brother was going too far and told him that Jin Yeomyung had achieved a great feat at the meeting. Jin Yeokwon was irritated that Gu Chil spoke while he was addressing Jin Yeomyung and said how dare a former assassin interrupt him. Jin Yeokwon then said that this was a conversation between direct blood of the Jin clan and outsiders had no right to interfere. Gu Chil was offended while Byuk felt frightened. Jin Yeomyung sighed, not believing such words came from the mouth of his 16-year-old brother, and felt it was very bothersome and annoying. Jin Yeomyung then said that he should perhaps teach Jin Yeokwon some manners so he wouldn't drag him into trouble later. Hearing what Jin Yeomyung said, Jin Yeokwon couldn't believe it and asked if Jin Yeomyung was serious. Jin Yeomyung felt that his younger brother, who would become the clan patriarch in the future, needed to learn how to respect him. He said that until now, he and Jin Yeokwon had never fought. Jin Yeokwon then immediately threw a punch at Jin Yeomyung, but Jin Yeomyung easily dodged it. Jin Yeokwon said why Jin Yeomyung dodged like a rat after saying such things. Jin Yeomyung mocked him, saying that maybe it was Jin Yeokwon's attack that failed to land. Jin Yeokwon became more furious upon hearing Jin Yeomyung's words, saying that he would make Jin Yeomyung crippled. Jin Yeomyung replied, asking how a younger brother could say such crude words to his older brother, and that Jin Yeokwon should be respectful. Jin Yeomyung then continued by saying he challenged Jin Yeokwon for 3 reasons. He said this while dodging Jin Yeokwon's threefold devastating strikes. Jin Yeokwon kept attacking Jin Yeomyung, but Jin Yeomyung kept dodging while continuing to say that the first and foremost reason was because Jin Yeokwon was chosen as one of the 6 demon dragons, reminding his brother that there was always someone stronger. Jin Yeomyung then attacked Jin Yeokwon, saying that the second reason was because Jin Yeokwon dared to stain the honor of the clan he would one day lead. Seeing this, people felt that their young master Jin Yeomyung had changed when he used to be a lazy person, while the second young master, Jin Yeokwon, had already become a demon dragon at a young age. But now things had reversed. The scene shifted, showing Jin Yeokwon beaten and bruised after being beaten up by Jin Yeomyung. Jin Yeokwon then said he would follow Jin Yeomyung's advice, but he added that tomorrow wouldn't end the same. Jin Yeomyung, holding a sword on his shoulder, asked whether his beloved little brother didn't want to hear his last reason. Jin Yeokwon shuddered hearing this and wondered what the last reason was. Jin Yeomyung then grinned wickedly and said that the last reason was because Jin Yeokwon didn't know how to properly respect his older brother. Jin Yeokwon was scared of Jin Yeomyung and immediately called him brother, saying that perhaps he had yet to express his deep admiration for Jin Yeomyung. Jin Yeomyung replied that etiquette wasn't shown with words alone, and thus began the loving torment between big brother and little brother. Time passed. In a hall, Jin Yeomyung's father was heard praising him, saying that Jin Yeomyung had done something remarkable. Jin Gunak, while drinking sake, said that even the cult leader didn't stop praising him. Even the cult leader praised himself for having created a great talent like Jin Yeomyung for his daughter, and Jin Gunak laughed at how he took advantage of this opportunity. Jin Gunak then looked at Jin Yeomyung and asked if he wanted to become the heir. Upon hearing this, Jin Yeomyung was slightly silent, then said to give the position to his younger brother Yeowun, because his brother had always contributed to the clan, unlike him. Jin Yeomyung continued that he intended to serve the young cult leader to raise the honor of the Jin clan. Jin Gunak, upon hearing Jin Yeomyung's words, didn't expect that his son would value the clan's honor so highly, because while other clans wasted their potential fighting over the heir, Yeowun and himself could build a solid foundation both inside and out, and even in the next generation, the Jin clan would be called the greatest among the 6 major clans, said Jin Yeomyung. Jin Gunak said that what Jin Yeomyung said was a good idea. Jin Gunak then asked whether Jin Yeomyung could do it. Jin Yeomyung replied that he could. Jin Gunak was pleased with his son's answer, then praised Jin Yeomyung and said that he had grown and was truly impressive lately. As his father, of course, he would support his son. Jin Gunak, with a firm gaze, then asked Jin Yeomyung whether there was something he wanted. Due to being unable to continue his private training, Jin Yeomyung decided to investigate the identity of the organization hidden in the shadows he had been pursuing. He suspected that because the current cult leader, the Heavenly Demon, ruled with an iron grip, the people operating behind the scenes must be deeply hidden. However, for Cheon Yura, the situation appeared different. Jin Yeomyung also observed that many talented individuals existed within the Cheon branch families. This led him to ponder the support being funneled into certain divisions. At that moment, he noticed someone eating fruit. It was his younger brother, Jin Yeowun. As Jin Yeowun continued to follow him, Jin Yeomyung grew annoyed and asked why his brother kept tagging along. With a clueless expression, Jin Yeowun replied that he wanted to know why Jin Yeomyung had recently become so powerful. This irritated Jin Yeomyung, as he was unsure whether bringing his brother along was safe. Jin Yeomyung asked where they were going. Jin Yeomyung responded that they were heading to the black market. Jin Yeomyung was visibly shocked. He questioned whether the black market wasn't a place of illegal transactions and a gathering ground for those who opposed the cult's laws. Jin Yeomyung replied that in the Thousand Mountain, or the black market, the concept of illegal practically didn't exist. The cult elites hid its existence, keeping it unknown to regular members because it offered no benefit to reveal it. Fundamentally, the black market was under the influence of the 6 major clans. Jin Yeomyung told Jin Yeomyung they were visiting a special place. As they arrived, Jin Yeomyung looked confused. Meanwhile, Jin Yeomyung noted that the place looked exactly as he remembered from his previous life. The location was called the Hidden Gold Pavilion, the control center of the entire black market, heavily guarded. Upon their arrival, an old man welcomed them. Realizing they were from the Jin clan, he asked what brought them there. Jin Yeomyung responded that his visit wasn't something to boast about, and requested to be brought to the person in charge. The old man introduced himself as Oh Gunjong, also known as the Golden Crow Demon, claiming he held the authority there. Jin Yeomyung, unconvinced, coldly replied that if someone wished to deal with the Jin clan's eldest son, someone from the Se clan should step forward. Oh Gunjong smiled, intrigued by Jin Yeomyung's knowledge, and asked how he knew that name. Jin Yeomyung only responded with a smile, stating that Oh Gunjong was well aware that this place was actually an intelligence division of the Sa clan's black gold. Oh Gunjong's demeanor turned aggressive, releasing a threatening aura as he asked once more how Jin Yeomyung knew this. Jin Yeomyung replied bluntly, questioning if he should fear such posturing. Without hesitation, he slapped Oh Gunjong, shocking him. Jin Yeomyung stated he might not be good at respecting elders, but excelled at beating them up. He accused Oh Gunjong of being merely a representative of the Se clan, one who dared to show killing intent and hide a weapon behind his robe. At that moment, a woman intervened, telling Jin Yeomyung to stop. She was none other than Lady Sa. She was Cheon, a direct descendant of the Sa clan's black gold. The fact that this place was under Sa clan control was a hidden truth. Additionally, she served as an attendant to the young cult leader. Cheon had even lent her sword in a duel against Cheon Yura. She asked Jin Yeomyung what brought him there. He explained that strange rumors had been spreading around the red light district and back alleys. Jin Yeomyung then mentioned a name, Black Spotted Blood, which made Oh Gunjong slightly shaken. Cheon, with a disbelieving expression, asked how Jin Yeomyung knew about this. Jin Yeomyung then explained that a chatty woman named Wolhyang from the 7-star courtesan house was rambling about it. Cheon felt disgusted about that. She knew what he meant, and then asked if that was the only reason. The Black Spotted Blood itself was a disease infecting the demon cult from within. Jin Yeomyung felt that their plan had been going on for quite some time and that the black spotted blood was part of someone's plan. Cheon then said that this matter came from outside the demon cult. She also said that she had done everything, even with full clan support, but the result was not good, and all they got was information related to a branch connected to one of the 6 great clans, and it was still just suspicion. Jin Yeomyung then replied, disappointed, saying that the intelligence network of the Se clan was this weak, even though he had hoped for more. Cheon immediately called out to Jin Yeomyung when he was about to leave. Jin Yeomyung then turned back and smiled warmly at Cheon, asking what she wanted to say, and after some agreements, Cheon finally approved and mobilized all her intelligence agents. Then Cheon said that she would assign her people to the Jin clan to monitor this matter. Jin Yeomyung then thanked her for this and said that he would take full responsibility. Then the two of them left the place. Cheon then reported to Cheon Yura that Jin Yeomyung and Jin Yeowon had already left. It turned out that Cheon Yura had already been at this place and had been watching from the start. Cheon Yura had once spoken with the heavenly demon Cheon Taejong, and Cheon Taejong said that Jin Yeomyung from the Jin clan didn't realize that he had been giving his all. Cheon Yura then asked if Jin Yeomyung was really serious about this. Cheon Taejong also felt that this sounded strange, but he saw that during the battle between Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura, Jin Yeomyung's eyes only focused on Cheon Yura, not on the battle. Cheon Yura became annoyed hearing this, and she felt that now she saw him in a different way. Yunru Valley was a hidden and difficult to explore area within the divine demon cult. Even people from the great clans avoided this lawless zone. Jin Yeomyung then said to the person assigned by Cheon, called Black Dagger Agent Number 7, that if you want to catch a tiger, then you have to go into its den. The Se clan's intelligence agent replied worriedly that the tiger might eat them. Jin Yeomyung then subtly threatened whether he should report what the agent said to Lady Bian, which scared the man and made him apologize. The agent hesitated and asked whether Jin Yeomyung could really gather information or intel in a place like this. Jin Yeomyung held his nose and replied to look carefully, because sometimes it's easier to get information in a place like this. Jin Yeomyung then felt something strange, because Jin Yeomyung started to sense a weird aura and felt like he was being watched ever since he entered this place. Jin Yeomyung started thinking that if those people kept watching him, then he wouldn't stay still, and a grassy area filled with flowers was seen. The agent then said that there were many plants here, and he was confused if someone had planted them. Jin Yeomyung then replied that probably someone did. The agent felt that the place had its own charm, because even if they were kicked out of the cult, growing these plants might win the hearts of the people. Jin Yeomyung saw the agent touch one of the plants and said that the plant he was holding was marijuana. Then Jin Yeomyung realized someone was approaching. Those people then approached Jin Yeomyung and the agent, saying that the two boys had coincidentally accidentally come into their place. The people who looked like bandits then told Jin Yeomyung and the agent to leave if they didn't want to get hurt. Jin Yeomyung looked at the three people and felt they were weak except for the one in the middle. Jin Yeomyung then said that what they said wouldn't happen because he was here to meet the top dog of this place. One of the people then said that they initially wanted to let them go, but after hearing what Jin Yeomyung said, he changed his mind. The people then immediately charged and attacked Jin Yeomyung while shouting to break Jin Yeomyung's and the agent's arms. The agent, seeing that they were about to be attacked, said that he wasn't good at preemptive strike tactics. Then Jin Yeomyung said that he wasn't expecting anything from him. The people then approached Jin Yeomyung to attack. Jin Yeomyung calmly said that if he died here, then they would be the ones in trouble. The scene shifted and Jin Yeomyung was seen entering a mountainous region filled with towering rock formations. An old man stood in front of a mansion and asked if there was some special occasion for his subordinates to bring a guest. The unknown guest apologized to the man, whom he referred to as the Third Elder. The Third Elder then said it was an honor to meet a noble from one of the 6 great clans. Jin Yeomyung replied by asking the Elder to guess his identity and which clan he was from, promising a reward in the name of his clan if he guessed correctly. The Third Elder thought hard about which clan Jin Yeomyung could be from and assumed he must be a wealthy young man from one of the 6 clans. The Third Elder guessed that Jin Yeomyung was from the Hidden Shadow clan of So. Jin Yeomyung then asked why the Elder thought he was from the So clan. The Third Elder explained that he guessed so because this might be related to his supplier, the Hwan clan, and since the Hwan and So clans never had good relations, he assumed Jin Yeomyung came from the So clan. Jin Yeomyung smiled at the explanation and realized that the Hwan clan was behind these scoundrels. He then said the Elder was wrong and revealed his true identity as Jin Yeomyung. The Third Elder was shocked, not expecting that the person before him was the heavenly demon from the Jin clan, and especially the first young master. The Elder then asked why Jin Yeomyung would reveal his identity like this, and whether it was okay if those people really were the suppliers of black-spotted blood. Jin Yeomyung replied that he would eliminate them with the power of his clan alone. The Third Elder asked what business brought a noble from the Jin clan to this place. Jin Yeomyung simply said one name, black-spotted blood. He had heard that the source of the drug was in this area, so he came to investigate. The Third Elder had trouble answering after hearing Jin Yeomyung's words. Jin Yeomyung then asked if he needed to loosen the Elder's tongue while handing him a pile of gold coins. The Third Elder was astonished at the sight of the coins. Eventually he spoke and said that the black-spotted blood came from outside. Even though its shipments passed through this area, neither he nor his group ever touched it. What they did was only supply goods to the Hwan clan, and they did not distribute it to the entertainment district or the streets. Jin Yeomyung then asked who exactly was supplying the drug. The Third Elder replied that the main supplier was the Perang sect, but before he could explain further, someone suddenly came to report to him. The man reported there was an intruder. Jin Yeomyung and the agent immediately replied, "Us?" Then a woman holding a sword was seen standing over a ground full of corpses. That woman was Cheon Yura. Elsewhere, a young man was seen running toward another man sleeping on a ragged cloth, calling him team leader. The panicked young man reported that the young cult leader had appeared. The man who had been sleeping, Yeomyung, the leader of the scouting team, woke up and asked the young man if he had been drinking in broad daylight. But the young man quickly denied it, saying he would never dare to do such a thing in the morning. He reported that the young cult leader had cut down a dozen people who blocked her path with a single slash, and the enemies were from the Poison Frog sect. Yeomyung was shocked and said the young cult leader might be from one of the 6 great clans. He began thinking and said that other than the young cult leader, only a few women had such power. So Soyu from the Sok clan, Yeon from the Sa clan, and perhaps the twins from the Pei clan. He then wondered if the young cult leader was targeting him and his group now. He ordered the young man to gather the squad. The young man enthusiastically said he would call the 17th team members right away, but Yeomyung cut him off angrily and said he wasn't referring to his children. He meant the demon assassination squad sent from the higher-ups to ensure the smooth supply of black-spotted blood. Therefore, the team to be called had to be the assassins. The scene then shifted again. Someone was seen spying on Jin Yeomyung, and it turned out to be Cheon Yura's group. One person warned Cheon Yura they were getting too close and might be spotted, but she responded that she was aware. Cheon Yura, puzzled, said that this was a large marijuana plantation. Why would the demon cult allow such a place to exist? Someone behind her explained that marijuana was needed for the Hwan clan's formation techniques. Also, due to the weak defenses in this area, they planned to lure intruders and eliminate them one by one. Cheon Yura asked if that was why Jin Yeomyung had come here. She then ordered the mission to proceed. Cheon Yura couldn't understand what Jin Yeomyung was really thinking. She said the young master once told her that he had too many enemies, and that distinguishing friend from foe was very important. The person beside her was moved by her words while watching her. Cheon Yura continued and said, "Isn't this kind of thing quite exciting?" With a terrifying expression, Cheon Yura said that if there was such a thing as a hermit, they would likely be found in a place like this. She was eager to meet such a person and stepped forward with enthusiasm. The others behind her were shocked and immediately chased after her. At that moment, Cheon Yura felt something odd. The so-called hermit wasn't there, and she was confused how Jin Yeomyung had made it through without resistance, while she had faced constant obstruction. Jin Yeomyung finally realized that the eyes and presence that had been following him all along were Cheon Yura. He then told Cheon Yura to come with him. Suddenly, a group approached approach Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura's party. They said they didn't expect the man's words to be true. Cheon Yura was confused by their arrival, while Jin Yeomyung was annoyed that he was being obstructed yet again. It turned out those people were Yeonmung's group and the assassin squad he brought. Yeonmung then told Cheon Yura that she would now be taken into custody. Cheon Yura asked about his identity. Yeonmung responded by telling her to simply obey and follow him. Meanwhile, the three people who had attacked Jin Yeomyung earlier panicked and fled. The agent simply glanced at them with a bored look. Cheon Yura told Jin Yeomyung that Yeonmung and the assassins looked like beggars from the beggar clan. Jin Yeomyung then advised Cheon Yura not to kill him, as Yeonmung likely had valuable information. Cheon Yura ordered Dark Shadow, Tiger Shadow, Fist Shadow and Byeon to follow and assist her. So Byeon declared she would obey the order and instructed the Dark Daggers to move forward and protect Jin Yeomyung. 3 women appeared and surrounded Jin Yeomyung to protect him. Jin Yeomyung was shocked to realize that the agent known as Number was actually Byeon. Yeonmung smiled and said it was a good strategy, but unfortunately Cheon Yura had no one in the Peak Realm on her side, whereas he had top-tier masters in the Peak Realm. Cheon Yura responded to Yeonmung by saying he seemed quite knowledgeable about the demon cult. Yeonmung laughed and said of course he did, especially about matters involving the Cheon family. Cheon Yura sneered and said, "The Cheon family," after hearing that. She then released her aura and told them that they were termites and needed to listen carefully. Otherwise, not a single one of their group would leave this 1,000-year mountain alive. Yeonmung then ordered his group to attack. A battle broke out between the two factions. Cheon Yura easily dodged every one of their attacks. She countered with a single slash, killing every member of Yeonmung's group. Cheon Yura smiled and mocked them, calling them moths. The assassin squad that looked confident at first was now lying slaughtered by the Cheon Yura and her team. A member of Yeonmung's forces lowered his head and stabbed his weapon into the ground, while angrily saying that he couldn't let things end like this. Then the man shouted that he would at least kill Jin Yeomyung. He screamed Jin Yeomyung's name and charged at him. Jin Yeomyung was confused. He couldn't believe the man would attack him while he was being guarded by so many people and act so recklessly. In guarding Jin Yeomyung suddenly jumped back, leaving him exposed. Jin Yeomyung was left speechless in shock. Seeing the attack directed at him, Jin Yeomyung felt that even though he was older, his combat instincts hadn't faded. Jin Yeomyung found it difficult to evade the attack. Without wasting time, Jin Yeomyung immediately drew his sword from its sheath. He then blocked the direct strike from the man, and a heavy pressure instantly bore down on him. Jin Yeomyung was thrown and fell to the ground. He was frustrated that at such a critical moment, he fell like a fool. The elite members of Yura's troops were amazed and shocked to see Jin Yeomyung withstand an attack from Yeonmung's forces as it was supposed to be impossible. The man then asked, why? Why was Jin Yeomyung still alive? Jin Yeomyung, Cheon, in rage, replied, how could he die from such a pathetic attack like that? The man, in disbelief, said Jin Yeomyung's head should have been split open, but while the man was still expressing his confusion, a sword suddenly slashed through his head. The man's head was immediately severed. The slash came from Cheon Yura, who then told Jin Yeomyung that he was incredible for surviving the man's deadly strike. Jin Yeomyung was shocked, not expecting that everything just now had been a test set by Cheon Yura. Jin Yeomyung immediately spoke to Cheon Yura, asking if she was satisfied now after seeing his abilities. Cheon Yura replied that she was. In his heart, Jin Yeomyung felt annoyed. He had heard that influential people in the cult often tested others, but it still felt irritating to him. After the battle ended, Yeonmung was captured. He told Jin Yeomyung to kill him quickly. Jin Yeomyung responded, saying that was something he couldn't possibly do. Yeonmung was a key witness in the Black Spotted Blood case. Hearing the words Black Spotted Blood, Yeonmung immediately acted as if he had no idea what Jin Yeomyung meant, and asked, what is Black Spotted Blood? Realizing Yeonmung wouldn't provide information, Jin Yeomyung stared coldly at him. Jin Yeomyung felt that he truly was now a part of the demonic cult. Jin Yeomyung continued, saying he had never seriously studied martial arts, and now he needed to master specific techniques, one of which was the bone-crushing technique. He said he really enjoyed learning that technique. Hearing this, Yeonmung panicked and begged him to wait. With a psychotic smile, Jin Yeomyung told Yeonmung he didn't need to speak and had every right to remain silent. Jin Yeomyung continued, saying he had never used this technique on anyone before and told Yeonmung to enjoy it, making Yeonmung's body tremble in fear. Jin Yeomyung then began the technique, and Yeonmung's agonizing screams echoed. Meanwhile, Cheon Yura was dusting off her clothes and apologizing to Byeon for causing a commotion. Byeon responded, saying it was nothing, especially since Jin Yeomyung had already forgiven Cheon Yura. Byeon then asked Cheon Yura what she would do if young master Jin Yeomyung managed to pass the test. Cheon Yura replied that if Jin Yeomyung could pass her test, he would achieve a dream he once buried. Cheon Yura looked over at Jin Yeomyung, who was still torturing Yeonmung, who moaned in twisted pleasure. She suspected Jin Yeomyung might have another reason. After that, Jin Yeomyung approached Cheon Yura and said that Yeonmung did seem to come from the beggar sect, as Cheon Yura had said. Yeonmung Yeomyung's superior was working with a traitor from the Cheon clan, but Yeomyung didn't know the traitor's identity. Cheon Yura was shocked to learn that the Cheon clan was involved in drug trafficking. It turned out that the people brought by that group came from Guryu Fortress's hidden manor. Sabyeon, knowing that the third elder had also mentioned Guryu Fortress, explained that the hidden manor was a small clan formed by former ghost hunters 50 years ago. Cheon Yura was surprised to hear this, and Jin Yeomyung fell into deep thought, pondering about the Guchil Squad. This group was once part of the Cheon clan's assassination squad, but had since been disbanded. It belonged to the Demon Emperor. Jin Yeomyung, lowering his gaze, told Cheon Yura they had to return immediately. Since they were ambushed, the matter had probably already spread, and given their hidden identities, the hidden manor likely wasn't the main hub. Jin Yeomyung then pointed behind him at Yeomyung and said that if they lost contact with him, the group would surely erase their tracks immediately. Sabyeon then asked Jin Yeomyung what he planned to do. Jin Yeomyung replied that although the situation had changed, he still wanted to investigate the organization from the bottom up. Cheon Yura, frustrated, bit him and told Jin Yeomyung there were better ways. She explained that their current situation made it difficult to move freely or gather forces due to fears of investigation by law enforcement or other parties. Cheon Yura offered to go herself, saying that they wouldn't refuse a visit from the young cult leader. Jin Yeomyung refused and said he didn't want to endanger Cheon Yura's life. Cheon Yura asked why she couldn't. Jin Yeomyung, with an unreadable expression, said he didn't want to risk Cheon Yura's life because it was far more valuable than this mission. Cheon Yura interrupted, speaking with regret, saying she had ruined Jin Yeomyung's plan. In her heart, she just wanted to help, even if just a little. Seeing Cheon Yura's words, Jin Yeomyung exhaled and smiled, thinking to himself that this was why he loved her. The scene shifted, showing Guryu Fortress's hidden manor located outside the 10,000 mountain region. Cheon Yura was seen violently kicking a gate. Inside, Cheol-jung, the leader of the hidden manor, was shocked to see the young cult leader and wondered why she came here. Cheol-jung was puzzled because he had planned to retreat after his failure in the Unru Valley, but his intended kidnapping target, Cheon Yura, had come to him directly. Cheol-jung quickly rushed to greet Cheon Yura with a fake friendly expression, asking what brought her to this place. Cheon Yura confirmed that Cheol-jung's grandfather was a member of the Phantom Slaughter Squad. She then said her visit was only to pay respect to those who had contributed to the Cheon clan. She remarked that the people of the hidden manor seemed busy, as if they were preparing to leave the place quickly. Cheon Yura then asked Cheol-jung if no one was going to offer tea to a guest like her. Cheol-jung respectfully replied that an honoured guest like her would receive special treatment, then invited her inside to the hall. Someone was seen hiding, observing the situation. They began conversing among themselves and spoke to their squad leader about what to do with their target. The leader said that since the opportunity had come again, they must capture her alive this time. Meanwhile, as Cheon Yura was about to enter the hall, she remarked that the place looked old and asked Cheol-jung if he often received guests there. Cheol-jung responded with laughter as if it was a joke. Then Cheol-jung mockingly called Cheon Yura by name. Cheon Yura told him to watch his mouth and asked how he dared speak that way, accusing him of having no respect. Cheol-jung laughed and told Cheon Yura to stop pretending to be clueless since he knew the real reason she came. A group of people then appeared behind Cheol-jung, brandishing swords. He continued, saying if Cheon Yura surrendered, he wouldn't have to beat her to a pulp. Cheon Yura replied that she understood Cheol-jung's true nature. With a smug expression, Cheol-jung told Cheon Yura not to act arrogant just because she had managed to kill some of his men. He warned her to prepare for his secret weapon. Suddenly, sounds and movements could be heard from within the hall. Cheon Yura looked up and realized it was a trap spell. Cheol-jung proudly declared that the trap was called the Labyrinth Execution Array. He then said to Cheon Yura, did she really think he would let her into this place without a plan? Cheon Yura began to think that a formation of this size must have taken great effort, and it would be difficult for a mere retired assassin to accomplish it alone. She then said that she had heard many things, and Cheon Yura asked Cheol-jung one question. Was he still loyal to the Cheon clan, or had he become a traitor allied with outsiders? Cheol-jung didn't respond to her words and instead ordered his men to kill her. Cheon Yura was pleased with that response. It was the answer she wanted. She immediately launched an attack on Cheol-jung's subordinates, and the two forces clashed fiercely. Cheon Yura's sword was stained with fresh blood, and she remarked that her journey was still far from over. She then told Cheol-jung that she never expected she would dirty her hands against trash like them. Cheol-jung simply replied, calling Cheon Yura a monster. Cheon Yura responded coldly, asking if she was supposed to accept insults from trash like him. Then she added, if cutting out Cheol-jung's tongue would make him loyal, it would be all the more satisfying. Cheol-jung was shocked to see Cheon Yura using piercing sword aura. He was also frightened that Cheon Yura was intending to interrogate him. He claimed Cheon Yura was just spouting nonsense about the person who corrupted the once loyal Phantom Slaughter Squad. Suddenly, someone attacked Cheon Yura from behind. He had gotten close without her noticing. One of Cheon Yura's guards shouted to warn her. Cheon Yura quickly turned around to face the attacker, preparing to confront him. The man raised his sword toward Cheon Yura, his gaze terrifying. He He unleashed a strike toward her, and Cheon Yura tried to block it with her own blade. Feeling the immense weight behind the blow, Cheon Yura realized that the person before her was a master. The man grinned. Cheoljong enthusiastically greeted the man, referring to him as Lord. The man easily bypassed Cheon Yura, stunning her. Cheoljong told him that Cheon Yura was the young cult leader and not an ordinary person. He added that Cheon Yura was now trapped within the execution array, and they needed to take advantage of the opportunity. But without realizing it, Cheoljong's own head had already been severed by the man, so fast he didn't even notice. After beheading Cheoljong, the man coldly stated that failed dogs must be put down. Cheon Yura stared at him and said she was curious about who he was and who he worked for. If he confessed, she would use her wealth to spread the news across the Central Plains and even deliver it to the beggar sect. The man remained silent, not responding. Some of Yura's wounded guards wondered if mere words could get him to talk, while others noted how dangerous the situation was. Cheon Yura knew the man before her was incredibly powerful, but this only made her more curious. She wanted to know how close she was to reaching the Sword Aura realm. The man looked at her and said that news of the young cult leader sticking her neck out like this would sell for a high price. Cheon Yura responded with a smile and said this was what confidence looked like. The man replied that what she was doing was closer to arrogance. The two then clashed, their swords colliding. The clash of Cheon Yura's sword against the man's continued intensely. The man said he was surprised Cheon Yura could hold her ground. Cheon Yura stepped back and stated that the heavenly demon divine art would not lose in raw power, even against any internal technique, regardless of cultivation level. The masked man smiled. He launched a deadly flurry of attacks. Cheon Yura struggled to block and dodge, even getting hit. With a menacing grin, the man told her that besides her talent, her lack of experience was what kept her from closing the gap. He lunged at Cheon Yura, sending her flying against the wall as she tried to retreat. Cheon Yura collapsed, using one hand to hold herself up. The man commented that the heavenly demon cult was raising a little demon. He continued, saying his superior had ordered him to capture Cheon Yura alive, but if he didn't kill her now, she would become a serious threat in the future. Sweating and in pain, Cheon Yura could only stare at the man. He walked toward her and said that 20 years from now, he and his group would have to poison her with a deadly toxin. That would be the only way to stop her. Cheon Yura responded, saying that was a clever tactic. The man grinned wickedly and said that was why Cheon Yura had to die today. Cheon Yura struggled to stand and said she had known from the start that this place was filled with trap formations and that a master would come to stop her. The man scoffed, saying she was talking nonsense. If she truly knew all that, why did she come here? Cheon Yura said if she made one mistake, it was probably because she agreed with him. She then said, "Isn't that right, Jin Yeomyung?" And a silhouette appeared behind her. It was Jin Yeomyung who replied, "Didn't I already tell you?" With a confident smile, Jin Yeomyung said they weren't afraid of Cheon Yura being a cult leader, they were more afraid of him. He then asked Cheon Yura how it felt to fight that man. Cheon Yura said it was extremely difficult and remarked that this was why the Orthodox factions had such a high reputation. Jin Yeomyung asked if she was sure the man was from an Orthodox faction. Cheon Yura answered that his swordsmanship embodied a philosophy completely opposite of the cult's techniques. Jin Yeomyung told her not to worry, he was by her side now. The mysterious man was surprised to see Jin Yeomyung and realized he was from the Jin clan, part of demonic heaven. He found it quite shocking. The man said he had to kill the cult leader now, but before he could continue, a weapon flew at him at incredible speed. The man dodged and exclaimed that it was impossible. Jin Yeomyung explained that they called it the Labyrinth Execution Array, but now the formation belonged to him. That was why he came alone, because all of his other forces had already been deployed elsewhere. Jin Yeomyung then pointed his sword at the man and asked, "Did you think you could overturn the heavens?" The man panicked and asked Jin Yeomyung if he intended to use sky reversing. Seeing the man's expression, Cheon Yura asked Jin Yeomyung what that meant and why the man reacted that way. Jin Yeomyung replied, telling her to focus on the current situation, survival. Jin Yeomyung said they were close to cutting off their tail. Cheon Yura might not have noticed since they were inside the formation, but outside, a sea of fire was raging. If they kept wasting time, both he and Cheon Yura would burn along with it. The man responded, saying that even so they wouldn't be able to escape. He said he needed to show some manners in return. Then he removed his face covering and introduced himself as Jok-un from the Blue Fortress. Jin Yeomyung smiled upon hearing the man reveal his identity. It meant he planned to kill them both. Jin Yeomyung asked if everything happening was orchestrated by Blue Fortress. Jok-un suddenly charged and told Jin Yeomyung to ask the King of Hell once he and Cheon Yura arrived there. Cheon Yura raised her sword alongside Jin Yeomyung and asked if he could synchronize with her. Jin Yeomyung replied that they would make it happen. Cheon Yura smiled at his answer and lunged forward together with him toward Jok-un. A fierce battle broke out, and dozens of labyrinth traps under Jin Yeomyung's control were unleashed toward Jok-un. Jok-un dodged and said it was irritating. He retaliated and tried to separate Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura. Jin Yeomyung thought to himself, just because they couldn't block head-on didn't mean they couldn't handle handle him. Cheon Yura slashed at Jok-un, but he deflected it with ease. However, Jin Yeomyung's follow-up attack disrupted Jok-un's rhythm. Jok-un clicked his tongue in frustration. Suddenly, Sub-Yeon, who had been hiding, struck out with a kunai, protecting Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura. Cheon Yura smiled and said to Jin Yeomyung that her ability was decent. Jin Yeomyung replied, thankful that the plan was going as intended. Cheon Yura looked forward and said she was starting to see her sword clearly. Jok-un grew furious and said that if he wanted to kill Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura, he'd have to risk his life. He added that while he could evade the high-level formations, he now had no other choice. Seeing what Jok-un intended to do, Cheon Yura told Jin Yeomyung to escape and forget capturing Jok-un alive. She said she would buy him time. She continued, saying she had been stalling from the start, so the Enforcement Bureau should have arrived by now, but it didn't work. Jok-un was seen using sword aura, though it differed from Cheon Yura's. His was sleek and linear. Jin Yeomyung replied that he couldn't do as she said, surprising Cheon Yura. He said he never planned to run and asked her not to waste her life. He and Cheon Yura would survive together. Cheon Yura was silent at his response. Then she said she would use harmonized chi and asked Jin Yeomyung to synchronize with her. Jok-un laughed, mocking them and asking if they were a married couple or something. Jin Yeomyung and Cheon Yura synchronized their harmonized chi and launched a joint attack. A flash of light lit up the area. All three felt the impact of the clash. Moments later, Cheon Yura was seen vomiting blood, and Jok-un's laughter echoed. Jok-un said he was impressed by them. He raised his sword toward Jin Yeomyung and said that if they met again, the result might be different, though it wouldn't happen. Jin Yeomyung said his life had served a greater purpose, and he felt honored. Then suddenly there was someone shouting. Jok-un then turned around and looked in that direction. Suddenly a large bald man punched Jok-un in the face and furiously yelled at him for laying a hand on Cheon Yura. Jok-un's body slammed into the floor and died instantly. Cheon Yura looked at the man with a weary expression. The bald man approached her and asked if she was alright. Cheon Yura responded, saying the Guardian was late. The Guardian apologized, saying he was briefly away and missed the call. Jin Yeomyung watched the Guardian repeatedly slam his head to the floor in apology. He thought it was strange that a Bureau enforcer would leave his duty to protect the cult leader and her family. Cheon Yura told the Guardian that Jok-un claimed to be a Blue Fortress elder, though it could have been a prearranged impersonation. She asked the Guardian to bring him in for interrogation. The Guardian began to sweat, admitting the problem. Jok-un was already dead. He apologized again for his recklessness. Jin Yeomyung suspected the Guardian had killed him on purpose. The Guardian's name was Wang Cheon-jeol, also known as the Red-Faced Demon Duelist, a cult expert and top-tier supreme. Though the Enforcement Bureau would betray the cult 20 years later, Wang Cheon-jeol would already be retired by then, and in his current state, betrayal seemed unlikely. After leaving the hall, Cheon Yura admitted she had overexerted herself this time and didn't have an excuse. She looked at Jin Yeomyung and said she owed him and would repay it another time. Jin Yeomyung silently watched Cheon Yura walk away with her group. He then called out to Guchil, who had been hiding in the shadows. Guchil stepped out and approached him in response. Jin Yeomyung asked for the results. Kneeling respectfully, Guchil reported that most of the place had been burned down and little could be salvaged. He handed over a slip of paper found on the body of the Hidden Manor's lord. Jin Yeomyung smiled, saying he owed his thanks to Wooho Biop's trolling. Guchil was confused and asked what trolling meant. Jin Yeomyung replied that he was just talking to himself. It was nothing. Jin Yeomyung looked puzzled as he read the contents of the paper.